there was actually a time that I was asking some questions about, something in the world, and it would just basically, you can tell there's a bias in the reporting to it. So I said, so no matter what I asked, it was going to say bias. So I said, okay, I want you to take a viewpoint that opposes this and actually go through your reasoning why you would oppose this. So I actually asked it to challenge itself. And then it was kind of interesting. And I think that's when I'm talking about this idea of empathy. Do we actually understand the perspective of others, the people who don't necessarily agree with us? So whatever you're like, hey, this is actually something I think, share those ideas, challenge it. Tell me what you would address. I think that's where the empathy can actually come in. It doesn't mean you necessarily agree with it, but it can give you perspectives that you don't have yourself, or it can push you to go into people's perspectives that you don't necessarily understand. And I think this would be a really valuable tool, if you're writing an essay, if you're a high school student and you're saying, okay, challenge me on this. And like, why will you challenge me? Getting some different perspectives. Like I said, AI cannot teach you empathy, but can you leverage it to actually be more empathetic of, other people's perspectives? There's a really, I can't remember where the quote came from. And it was basically about the idea of, if you want to debate somebody, that if you're really successful at a debate, you can actually make their arguments for them, that their arguments so well that you can actually make them. And if you understand a different a person's perspective in a better way. Now, of course, we can't be that person, but if you kind of can understand and leverage some of these tools to actually get different perspectives from your own, it can actually make the world a better place, and it can address some of the things before they're brought to your attention. So I just thought it was like a really interesting perspective. And it is something I'm trying to get better at, is how am I using this to kind of address things that I'm not paying attention to? So for example, let's say you're a school leader, district leader, and you're saying to yourself, hey, here are some strategic things or some ideas that we want to do with our community. What's some of the pushback we might get from our, community? That's actually a really good exercise to kind of go through this and say like, hey, here are some of the things that you might get challenged on and why. And actually going through that process and understanding that it is not necessarily that people will disagree with you, but you're trying to get a variance of perspectives. And this is one of the beautiful things, is that you ask that question to challenge you. And like I said, the challenge was simply this: any challenges to this post? That was it. Wasn't really complicated. And it gave me a different perspective I had not really thought about.